Hello, it's your local commissioner, Craig, here for the 5280 Fantasy League Baseball League. And today is the State of the League address. Yes, we have just wrapped up our 2018 season. And first of all, I just have to say thank you for your participation. What an amazing season it was. Congratulations to Chase and RJ on the most exciting finish we've ever had. You guys fought until the very last day, the very last at-bat of the season, and you deserve a round of applause for that. There can only be one winner, though, and RJ had to sit and watch on his bye week, which I'm sure was painful, but having to watch the championship be out of his own control was tough, I'm sure, but in the end, Windsor Wetbacks did it again. Congratulations now for the fourth time in your history. You are champions. And not only that, you did it with not one, not two, but 0 trades throughout the season. You stayed strong from your draft, built through free agency, and were able to come out on top. Congratulations. Quite the contrast from who finished in the second spot. Yes, that was the Sueyville Sluggers. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me check my phone. I think I just got another trade request from Chase and his Sueyville Sluggers. Congratulations, Chase. You did it differently than the rest of us. Ozzy Albies was a revelation in the first half of the season. Couldn't quite carry you all the way to the finish line, but you came as close as anybody else has ever. So congratulations, a well-deserved second place finish. And I know I share the sentiment with the rest of our owners that I'm sure this trophy in your case just serves to enable you to send off more trades next year. In third place, the Westminster Rapid Man Lives team. Always a bridesmaid, another year, another top 3 finish for Alberto. I would say congrats, but it's likely he won't even see this since he's yet to set his lineup since July 13th. So if you see him, say congrats, because we haven't at the league in a while. In fourth place, I think this is his best showing since he won. The Denver Colt 45s, Don held his ground this season after trading Nolan Arenado last season. He wasn't going to make any trades this one, and he did not. It worked pretty well for him, though, finishing fourth place. And fifth place, it was the Garden Center Horny Owls. Matt, another year where he has a good team and can't get the breaks from week to week. He did influence the championship. Check this out. He beat Chase and his Sueyville Sluggers twice. However, he lost to RJ and the Windsor Wetbacks twice as well. So 2-0 against Chase, 0-2 against RJ. That made a big difference. In sixth spot, the North Denver Rocktobers. What can be said about Pokey's team? Well, he's the placebo drug of the league. The answer's the age-old question, what would happen if you only drafted and did nothing really else for the rest of the season? Well, in this case, you'd beat about half the teams. Congrats. In seventh place was, yes, the Jolly Emolgas. My team, I'm wearing my team colors here tonight. The Jolly Emolgas are one of those teams that I felt like I had a good team this year, but it never really clicked. We're probably still drunk from celebrating too much after last season's championship ring. In eighth place was the My Cargo Hangs Too Low team with Travis. I guess he's consistent, but if anything, his first 2 seasons in the league, he finished 8th place. Finished 8th this year, too. He didn't try, but don't try and trade for Peraza. I tried about 100 times and never could make it happen. In ninth place were the Rocky Mountain Oysters. After a second place finish last season, they started out with a disaster, losing 9 out of the first 12 matchups. At one point, Mr. Taylor, BT, Brian Taylor, was in the cellar, but he had a nice finish, winning 5 out of his last 6 to avoid the dreaded Biggest Loser banner. And who will get that banner? We'll find out. In 10th place was Hit by Pitch Blend. Yes, Earl It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Earl and his squad looked like they would be world beaters at the halfway mark, sitting in first place with a championship in sight, but injuries got the best of his team between Bryant and Pollock, Strasburg, Waka, Ryu, and others. Just couldn't overcome it. A tough season for him, and he finishes in second to last place in 10th. And rounding out the standings in 11th, the Elizabethan Hillbillies. Well, Noah, I'm not sure how to say this gently, but after winning your second biggest loser banner in a row and third time overall, you've achieved greatness. It's just not in a great way. I'll be rooting for you next year to not finish last. All right, let's get to the fun part, the awards for this year. I've put together a first team and a second team all roster ballot. This was comprised of a democratic vote by me, the commissioner. So feel free to argue with me and let me know why your team got jobbed. All right, we'll start with the second team. I've gone through and made one starter for each spot. So at catcher, we have Yadier Molina from the Westminster Rapid Man Lives. At first base, Paul Goldschmidt from the Jolly Emolgas. Yeah, at second base, Ozzy Albies from the Sueyville Sluggers. Again, this is the second team all 5280 FLB roster. At third base, from the North Denver Rocktobers, Eugenio Suarez had a good season, kind of underrated since he was on Pokey's team. At shortstop, Javier Baez from the Garden Center Horny Owls. And the three outfield spots on the second team, all at 5280 FLB. One belongs to David Peralta from the Sueyville Sluggers. His teammate on the Sueyville Sluggers, Lorenzo Kane, gets the other spot. And the third outfield spot is Nick Markakis from Matt's Garden Center Horny Owls. As far as the pitching goes, we've got 5 starters to get through. John Lester from the Windsor Wetbacks takes the first spot. Zach Granke from the Jolly Emolgas takes the second. Miles Mikolas from Westminster Rapid Man Lives. I tried to get him about 10 times this year and never could do it. Mike Fultonevich from Hit by Pitch Blend. I think Chase tried to trade for him every single day from Earl, from what I heard. Trevor Williams rounds out the starting rotation for this second team at 5280 FLB on the Garden Center Horny Owls. Well represented here on the second team is Matt's club. And the relief pitchers, 3 of them. Tony Watson from Earl's Hit by Pitch Blend. Jordan Hicks and Sir Anthony Dominguez, both represented from this guy right here, the Jolly Emolgas. All right, as for the first team, we will go through that. But what do you think about the second team? Anybody there surprising? We'll see if who gets left off altogether as we go through the first team together here. At catcher, first team all FLB, 5280 FLB. We have JT Realmuto from the Rocky Mountain Oysters. At first base, Freddie Freeman from the Denver Colt 45s. Second base, Scooter Jeanette from the North Denver Rocktobers. Third base, Nolan Arenado from the Garden Center Horny Owls. At shortstop, we had Trevor Story from Westminster Rapid Man Lives. And the 3 outfield spots, 2 of them come from the Windsor Wetbacks, Christian Yelich and Bryce Harper. Harper's numbers were down, but going through the stats, he still filled it up. So he is represented on the first team, as well as Charlie Blackman from the Jolly Emolgas. Starting pitchers for the first team, all fantasy here. We've got Max Scherzer from the North Denver Rocktobers. Pokey with that Max Scherzer. Seems like he had him last year, too, for a while. Jacob deGrom from the Sueyville Sluggers was well represented after his trade. Aaron Nola, who everybody tried to get him from Don, I think, but he was a great asset for him this year. And the Denver Colt 45s. Patrick Corbin had a tough second half, but he started out so well that it carried him to the all-first team. Patrick Corbin from the Garden Center Horny Owls. And the 5th spot goes to Kyle Freeland from the Windsor Wetbacks. Was taken late in I think it was the 7th round, and outperformed his draft position quite handily. A good showing for him, and helped Windsor Wetbacks to win the 4th title. All right, let's talk about the relievers. Josh Hader from Westminster Rapid Man Lives, Adam Ottavino from Matt's Garden Center Horny Owls, and Jeremy Jeffress from the Denver Colt 45s. All right, so that being said, how do you feel about the first team and second team awards for the All Fantasy 5280 FLB? Good? Did I mess anything up? Did I miss somebody? Well, I have a feeling that these next awards are going to have a little controversy. So I'm going to give out an Offensive Player of the Year, a Cy Young Award, and an overall MVP. The Offensive Player of the Year goes to Christian Yelich from the Windsor Wetbacks. Yes, Christian Yelich had a wonderful season, filled it up quite nicely in all categories, and he is the Offensive Player of the Year. The Cy Young goes to Max Scherzer, who dominated in strikeouts, who had a low ERA, a low whip, nice amount of wins, and was pretty much just the best pitcher all around. So he gets the Cy Young. And the MVP for this year's 5280 Fantasy League Baseball was Trevor Story from the Westminster Rapid Man Lives team. Trevor Story was the most valuable player on that team, did everything for them. Definitely would have not finished in 3rd place had Trevor Story not been on that team. He led the team pretty much in every single offensive category, and was pretty much, it could have been called the Westminster Stories, because he was their whole team. And I know on the occasions when I played him, Trevor Story did it all. So what do you think about those? The MVP and the offensive players and the Cy Young Award winner. All right, the last thing we're going to do here tonight before we wrap up for this season, the 2018 season, is talk about next season. Yes, 2018 will move on to 2019, and I'm looking forward to having all of you back and lifting that trophy once again, taking it from RJ. But here's how we will do it. We're going to have some changes to the way we're going to score things. I think now that we have established ourselves as a fantasy league, it's time to grow up a little bit more each year. Each year I tweak things. I try and make it better, more fun, keeping a balance of players and player types and player likes. I feel like with the changes I made this year with the saves plus holds, opened up the player pool a little bit more, and it didn't feel as cramped this year because we had more relievers and more long men to choose from for our rosters. So I feel like in the feedback that I got from people talking to you and talking to people throughout the league was that helped quite a bit, that the rosters weren't so crunched. I've spoken to you all about certain things that you wanted to see in the league and how we could make it better going forward. I've considered all of them except for adding the national or the American League, because that ain't gonna happen. So with that in mind, I'm gonna make a couple of tweaks for next season. So 2 of those being, well, the only 2, we're gonna switch from, instead of batting average, we're gonna switch to on base percentage. So it doesn't sound like a big change, but it's going to take a little bit more research, and it will reward more of the non-slugger type batters. We will, in the current format, we're not really involving walks or getting on base at all. It's just more of the average. So people that get on base, that walk, that are patient at the plate, not just hitting home runs and smashing RBI. I feel like this will open up the player pool and to create a little bit more balance on the teams to do that. And it's going to take more of a keen eye instead of just seeing an average and going with that. Going to have to dig a little bit deeper to get the on base percentage. So that will be the first change. The second change is going to be on the pitching side. We're going to do away with the walks category, and we're going to switch it to innings pitched. Why, you say? Why just a random category of innings pitched? Isn't that just boring? You play pitchers and they just get an inning? Well, no, not exactly. The reason why, partly, is because walks are already counted against your team in WHIP. Yes, WHIP, if you don't know, stands for walks plus hits per inning pitched. So you're penalized already for giving up a lot of walks. So if you walk a lot of batters, your team was getting penalized twice. So we are only going to penalize you once for walks. And switching it to innings pitched is two-part. One, because it's a non-whole number. There's a lot of ties this season, and I think a lot of that reason was because most of these categories we're scoring are based on whole number stats. Like you have 10 home runs versus 15 home runs. Well, if you have two teams that have 10 home runs this week, it's a tie in that category. Moving to innings pitched, we'll be dealing in thirds of innings. So we have that many more times the amount to try and break up a tie in a category, which I think will help settle some of these ties that we had this year. We had a record amount of ties, and so this will help mitigate that. Also, it will help mitigate some of the players that are not as active as others. Innings pitched, you'll have to weigh the balance of do you change your lineups frequently? If not, you're going to probably fall behind in the innings pitch category. Now, a lot of the pitching categories, such as ERA and walks and WHIP, they favor the players that aren't. They favor the managers that aren't changing their lineups consistently. This will eliminate one of those categories, the walks, because the least amount of walks you have, well, if you don't change your dudes out and you're getting less innings pitched, it's probably going to be less walks. So if we switch it to innings pitched, the players that are putting more effort and putting more time into caring for their team will be rewarded for doing so. So innings pitched, we're going to switch that and see how that works. Now, it has been brought up, and amongst other changes, to add at-bats, kind of a similar ilk for batters as the innings pitched is for hitters. I've considered it, and I really like the idea, but I'm not sure how yet that would work. There's not a category that on the offensive side that I really want to get rid of at this point. So I'm still considering that, and that change will be tabled for this season, will not happen. At-bats, though, will be under review and revisited for next season. So it's a change I'm going to look at. We'll do these two this season and perhaps look at bats for the next season. So, all right. The last thing we're going to do tonight, now that those new changes are in effect, is talk about the draft order. Yes, the Roto standings. I've updated us throughout the season on how our teams have done, and this is how we finished, and will determine the draft order for next season. All right, I've got this here. We'll go in reverse order. With the 11th pick in the 2019 draft, it will be the North Denver Rocktobers. Pokey will pick last. In the 10th spot, it will be the Elizabethan Hillbillies and Noah. In the 9th spot, My Cargo Hangs Too Low. In the 8th spot, Earls Hit by Pitch Blend. In the 7th spot, the Denver Colt 45s. In the 6th spot, the Sueyville Sluggers. In the 5th spot, the Jolly Emolgas. In the 4th spot, we have the Westminster Rapid Man Lives. The top three, here we go. Top three for next season's draft order 2019 Number 3, Garden Center Horny Owls. Yes, Matt will finish in the top 3 again. Got the top pick last season and has number 3 here. And number 2 is the Windsor Wetbacks. That means the number 1 pick for next season's draft goes to Brian Taylor and his Rocky Mountain Oyster team. So if you made it all the way through this, I thank you for doing so. This has been the State of the League Address. I'm your commissioner, Craig, and I thank you for watching this. And also, I can't thank you enough for participating. The baseball season and the baseball league is my favorite of all of the fantasy sports that I've ever been a part of. And I put the most time into baseball, being the commissioner and being a participant, as I have in any fantasy thing I've ever done. So I just say thank you to you for playing with me and playing with others. I hope you had such a good time as well. I encourage you to talk amongst other owners and to get to know each other and coordinate trades with each other. I know a lot of times it's I wouldn't say convenient or easy, but I end up being a conduit for those things. I would just encourage you to reach out to all of our owners. We're all friendly and are willing to talk and negotiate and listen. And so I would encourage you to do so and engage in talks and work on trades. And we can all say no to Chase, right? All right. So until next season, I'm signing off here, your commissioner for the 5280 Fantasy League Baseball. Once again, congratulations to RJ on his 4th championship. Until next season, see you later. RJ, you suck.